Hello, amazing people. Welcome to Wonder Quest. I really hope you're enjoying the session so far, the prompts, the whole experience. I'm Maram Taibah, and I'm your host. And today with us, we have Brooke Medicine Eagle, the legendary healer and shaman. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, nice to be here.
So before we start today with our session, I would like you please to find a space. And this time I'd really like you especially to find a quiet space because you really need to focus in this session because we really need to truly connect. We have a very important practice today and I would like us to receive fully. So just a reminder, this is an adventure that you can do if you're traveling. You can do it in your hometown, and it doesn't matter what faith or path or religion you come from. We're getting together here and we're creating a sacred space together and experiencing our own spirituality together. So I would like you please to pause this recording and take 5 minutes to meditate, take deep breaths, find your inner silence, find your presence, and then bring yourself back to the recording and we can do our 3 breaths together. All right, so now that you're ready, let's take a deep breath. Leave everything behind, everything you were thinking about, everything you were involved in before this recording. And there's nothing you need to worry about in the future, nothing you need to bring into this experience from the future. And arriving fully in this moment and ready to receive. So, Brooke Medicine Eagle is a wisdom teacher. She's a healer. She's a visionary. She's a singer, songwriter. She is the best-selling author of the Native American literary classic, Buffalo Woman Comes Singing, and The Last Ghost Dance. So, Brooke, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
I came from the Crow Reservation in the backcountry of Montana, and we were raised on a ranch, and I was always interested in healing, and my brother and I often did healing work with young animals. And when I left there and started my education, I was working in psychology and counseling and other kinds of things and working at universities, but I didn't feel like much healing was happening there. So I really began my wonder quest, as it were, in my 20s, in my late 20s. And it's always an amazing experience, an adventure, a challenge to step into the unknown. And I did that at the time of my Saturn return, which is at around 29 years old. There's another one that comes at 58. At 29, I stepped into a whole different world and I became a completely different person than I had been in the past. I really stepped into my medicine work and onto a path that was very different than I had been. So it's like becoming a new person in a way. And beforehand, I think it might seem rather scary, but as I look back at the process, it was just really amazing what emerged from that willingness to step out and become a new person and do that adventure and do that quest.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about, because today we're talking about the body, right? That's the way I introduced the adventure today is by recognizing the body as our temple. And can you tell us a little bit more about our practice regarding the body?
All right. So what I'd like to offer to you who are listening and watching today are tools that I wish I had when I was starting out. And I'm going to have quite a few minutes here, so I'm going to just take you on this journey, and I'll get to the really powerful points after giving you some background. I've always been interested in the body, and I did my PhD work in somatic therapy. And what I've realized is that too often we're in our heads, we're in our intellect, and when we stay in our head, in our mind, in our intellect, we make it much more difficult to step out into this kind of quest that we're thinking about and supporting here. So I want to urge you to create a different, powerful your quest and your life. I'm going to sing you a song and say a prayer, which is the way that we often begin things in a native. So this song is increasing, and it's a morning song about any time we're beginning something, stepping into something new. Sa sa pi e si me mo Pemi o na kwan ke teskinet we Waken, oh, awaken from your sleeping. Dance awake the dream you're keeping. Way yo. Hasten, oh, hasten to your giving. Heart to dreams that you are living. Way yo. Sa sa pi si sa me kamoa. Pemi o na kwan ke teskinet. Way over the horizon, something's coming. Something beautiful for you now. Way yo. Sa sa pi si sa me kamoa. Pemi o na kwan ke teskinet. Way yo.
That was so beautiful.
Good. So I'm going to continue with a prayer. So Creator, on this good day, we give thanks for our lives, the lives that you have given us, and the lives that you support in this beautiful life that you have given us, this beautiful world that you have given us. So we give thanks this day for the love and support and goodness that come our way through things like this that we're doing today. We give thanks for the courage and the power of our own heart and our soul and our spirit, that we might walk forward, becoming more and more of who we are, and therefore giving more and more of our rare and beautiful gifts to all the world, to all our relations. So we give thanks for our lives on this good day and say, aho, thank you, Mitakuyasin, for all our relations.
Oh.
So I think a really important thing to remember is that Creator loves us and gifts us with enormous possibility. We're the ones who limit it. And so to touch into that place through meditation and the kind of things you began with allow us to find that deeper place of the richness that comes through as we drop below our thoughts and our emotions and all of that. But I wanted to start with just one thing about our emotions. Creator gave us a whole wheel of emotions. Every emotion we have is on that wheel. And I want to talk for a minute about fear, because fear is what comes up when we face the unknown. Let's actually talk about it without labeling it bad, so we can transform it. So for instance, let's think somebody runs up to you and says, somebody's throwing. And if you hide your head and tighten up and freeze and get all upset and basically hide your head, you're not going to notice whether they're actually throwing rocks, and if they are, where they are, and which way you should run. So Creator gave us fear, and we call it rattlesnake medicine. It's like if a rattlesnake, you hear that rattle, it's not like you're supposed to freak out. You're supposed to go, oh, I'm in someone else's territory. I need to wake up. So fear is about waking up, coming alive, paying attention, opening your heart, opening your senses, clearing your out, taking a deep breath, getting curious, getting creative. It's like, okay, what's happening here? What can I see? What can I sense? What can I learn? So that we can open ourselves up and think of fear as, in some ways, excitement. If we can allow the nervousness and we have about walking forward and recognize it as excitement. I mean, there are times when you do need to run, so that's great. But many times it's just our old sense of fear that slows us down. So if we can just open up, say, all right, here we go. This is an adventure, and walk toward it with curiosity and excitement, I think that we really can move forward in a beautiful way. And one of the tricks, and I'm going to talk about a lot of bodily things because that's my predilection, is the body. And one of the things to do whenever anything comes up that's fearful is to relax your body, is to consciously let go, deepen your breath, breathe into your belly, and totally let go and relax your body. Because when you do that, you allow yourself access then through your brain and through your consciousness to the kind of things you need. So those are things I would say in the beginning, is to be aware. It's like something I was told by one of my teachers. There's a Toltec saying that said, you are a woman with the power of your journey ahead of you. And so to step into that, the power of my journey, all right, and get excited and curious about it rather than drop into our frightened, tight kind of place. So, you know, what's true for all of us is that stresses and fears will come up. And I want to give you something that I think can transform that. And the best way I can explain this is to use an example of trauma that can lead us into the territory of choice and empowerment. It's interesting that in our physical lives and on earth, sometimes trauma, stress, scary things, you know, whatever wakes us up is the way we learn and grow. And so to be able to use those things and transform them is very powerful. And I really like what you're doing, Maram, because you're talking about having these quests and this spiritual journey be something wondrous and awesome and exciting.
Yeah.
Even though there's challenge and maybe a little stress and terror, it's like, that's life. Hey, here we are on earth, and that's part of it. But to be able to transform those things is really important. So I'm going to take you through a sequence here, because I want to tell you how your brain works around trauma or upset or stress. So let's say that something very intense happens. It could be traumatic, you know, maybe there's some kind of damage or hurt that you have experienced, and it's really challenging. Maybe you lost something or someone, and it's very, very intense. What happens in that situation is that you go into a loop of the trauma like this, and your brain brings it back around, crosses over, and if you have the same quality and level of positive experience in your life, it will take this loop and it will loop right over onto the other side, into the beauty, into the happiness, into the ecstasy, into the good energy. Your brain does this, comes around, goes back into the intensity, comes back over, back over, back over, back over, back over, and out it goes. And that's how the brain, that was what was given us by Creator. So what we loop into that old survival brain, and a process that's been overridden by our modern intellect. The animals have this kind of ability, and I'll tell you a story about coyotes and rabbits down the line here. So what's important here is that positive side. We're all going to face upset, challenges, stresses. But the important thing for us is to have that positive side. And I'll tell you more about that as I go down the line, because I want to talk to you about your brain. You have 3 brains in your head anyway. There are more of them. But you have 3 brains. The first is this forebrain, this little piece up here that's our human intellect, consciousness, thinking into the future, critical analytic thinking. So that has the language of speaking like we're speaking now. There's a second brain that's in the middle part of our head, and that's the old mammalian brain. And that brain we share with all mammals, and that brain's language is emotion. So if anyone tells you that animals don't have emotions, they don't know their science, because that brain we share with all mammalian creatures. And those of you who love animals, love dogs and all of that, you know they have emotional feelings, and so do all mammals. So what's interesting is the old shamanic teachers say that we spend a lot of our time in thinking and emotion, but that's not where the action is, interesting enough. A lot of therapy is done talking and emoting. It's not bad, it just isn't complete. So I want to talk about the third brain. The third brain is this older part of our brain. It's the one in the back of our head. It connects to our spinal column, and it's the old, ancient brain that we share with everything and how we've evolved. So the wisdom of our whole, whatever it took for we as human beings and me as an individual and my family line, whatever it took for us to survive and to be here right now lives back here. And that's the brain, as we all know, that if you slip on a banana peel, boom, it doesn't think, it doesn't emote, it just picks you up and writes you. So it's this instinctual survival, amazing store of wisdom that we have. So I'm going to just ask you for a second, what do you think the language of that part of the brain, that wise, survival, incredible wisdom part of you?
I would say sensation.
All right, my gosh, you have it just right, because bodily sensation is the language of that part of ourselves. So that's the piece that I want to talk to you about, because that's the body. It's not the thoughts, it's not the emotions, but it's actually, you know, the body and its feelings, its sensations that are very, very important and powerful. So I want to tell you a little story. I saw this in a movie when I was being trained to understand this kind of work. They showed a coyote. Well, no, they showed first a rabbit. Great big old jackrabbit, great big old ears, and he's munching. He's munching along. All of a sudden, his ears go up. He starts running, and they pan over, and there's a coyote. And the coyote's running after him, and he's hopping and jumping, and the coyote's running, and they're going and going. And then you see off in the distance, another coyote is angling on the rabbit from another place. So here's this rabbit in danger of losing his life. So he's running as fast as he can run. And he's jumping over everything, jumping and running and running. And finally you see that he gets out ahead and the coyotes wear out. They're standing there panting. And the rabbit jumps across a little stream and sits and pants himself. So he's literally been in a life and death situation. So he's panting, and when he catches his breath a little bit, he does the most interesting thing. And his brain is very, very much like yours if you learn to do this. What he did is he just started running again really fast, just as if to prove himself that he could get away. He ran really fast, and then he jumped in the air. He threw himself into the air in this incredible, ecstatic. They slowed it down, and it was absolute ecstasy. And then he came down. He sat for a moment. He ran again, jumped in the air in this ballet kind of exquisite motion, came down again. He did that one more time, and then he just started eating. He was all done.
Wow.
He'd handled his stress, and he'd handled it by that ecstatic motion. And that ecstasy had to be complete for him to balance this, I'm going to die, and oh, exquisiteness of being alive. And that took the stress out of his system. So that's what I want to talk to you about. And I call it positive resourcing. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes and think of the most wonderful, wonderful moments you can think of in your life. It could have been when you were a child playing and splashing in the water. It could have been when you were young playing and running. It could have been meeting a loved one. It could have been whatever magnificent, ecstatic, beautiful, totally wonderful experience. And it could have been just a moment in time. So I'd like you to find that moment in time where there's no question about the fact that you were happy, well, just in that beautiful place of feeling extremely good. So find that place, and I want you to take yourself into that as though you are there in this very moment. And I can see Maram smiling, and that's a wonderful thing. That's a good indication. And for you then, what I'd like each of you to do is I would like you to track in your body how you know you are feeling so good, how your body knows. What are the feelings? Is it like maybe there is this smile on your face? Oh, maybe you take a breath and you can feel yourself relax. Maybe you can feel your heart kind of swelling and really feeling happy. Maybe there's a contented feeling in your stomach. Maybe your legs feel strong and good. Whatever it might be, the important thing to do to get these positive resources that make a difference in your life is to find them in your body. You might have a thought about it and you might have a nice, happy emotion. That's not the key. The key is to feel it in your body. And I'd like you to feel it clearly enough, and what I call track it clearly enough, that if in 2 hours I said to you, go find that. So that's what I call creating a positive resource. And those positive resources are the most powerful things you can build. Because let's say that I were doing work with you around trauma, and it's the kind of thing you can help yourself with. Let's say that really, and it's important for you to notice what goes on in your body. Then it's like, whoa, boy, I can feel that right in my stomach. It feels like somebody kicked me right in the stomach, or, oh, my heart hurts, or my shoulders are tight. Whatever that is, notice that. And then the thing you need to know is that you can choose and change your experience. And the way to do that is to be well practiced enough with your positive resource that even in that situation where it's difficult, where you don't feel good, where all of that's going on, you have it strong enough that you can call it up and bring that into your body. One of the things that I wish it was taught in school was this kind of thing, because much of we've been taught is that things outside affect us and we're at effect of them. We can't change our feeling, we can't change our emotion. You know, they say, buy a big car and you'll feel better. Use this kind of lipstick and you'll feel better. Buy something and you'll feel better. But they don't tell us that we can change it from right inside ourselves. And this kind of positive resourcing is the kind of thing that can make an absolute difference for you. And you can use these things anytime. For certain, anytime you don't feel good, or let's say you're facing something. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to step out into a whole new world here. Oh my gosh, it's intense. I've never done it. I'm nervous about it. And that's good. It's like, yes, that's something new. And then call up a time. Let's have you close your eyes again and think of a time when maybe you had a really great success. You created something, you did something, you gave a talk, you wrote a paper, you had a connection with a person, you did a good job at work, whatever it might have been, a time when you just went, by gosh, I did great. I really did a good job. And once again, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but you need to find something that feels powerfully positive. And every time you create a resource like this, you need to go into your body and see where you feel it. And in this case, it might be different. Maybe your arms feel wonderful. It's like, yes, oh, I feel this great. I feel good. I can feel the strength in my body, or I can feel the happiness in my chest, whatever it might be. Again, build that resource so that when you come to a time when there's stress, when there's intensity, when there's sadness or upset, that you have the capacity to find those resources. And they're especially important because one of the things that we're learning now about the way the brain functions is that, one, the brain, the ancient brain, just like it gave us this wonderful way to create positive energy, the ancient brain was toward negativity, to pay attention to negativity. Now, isn't that odd? I mean, it's like, come on, what's that about? But in fact, how that happened is, let's say I'm in Africa, I'm in tall grass. It's where lions live. And I'm walking down the pathway. And if I hear a rustle in the grass, if I go, oh, gee, I'm a positive person, I just am going to imagine that everything's going to be fine. Well, if it's a lion, boom, it isn't fine. But if you think to yourself, oh my gosh, that may be a lion, whoop, I'm out of here. And it turns out that it was the wind in the grass, you're still alive. So your brain has been keyed to pay attention to things that might harm or might upset you. And although we don't have lions in the grass or, gorillas jumping out from behind a bush to scare us, we have that same response to stress. And so it's really important for us to find positive ways to shift that. So to know that, oh yeah, my brain goes, I'm stepping out there. It's like, oh my gosh, what could happen? Oh my gosh, it might be terrible, or whatever my mind might do. It's like, okay, yeah, that's my mind. That's fine. It's sort of natural that it does that. Then what is the real question? Then what? And then what is to find that positive resource to shift your mind, your emotion, and your body into a positive place. Because that's when you have access to the deep richness of your creativity, the ancient brain that understands how to do so many things. So that positive resourcing is enormously, enormously powerful. And so I have an assignment for you. And that assignment, I'll have another one here in a minute or two, but that assignment is to create at least 10 positive resources. One of the things you can do is to create them from your memory. You can go, I remember that time. It was just the most joyous. My family was together and we were having the most wonderful time. It was just fabulous. You can do that. Another way to do it is to pay attention in your daily life. It's like today, I got up and I walked out into this beautiful area where I am, right across the border in Mexico. It was one of those spring days. I know it's snowing up north, but here it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. The air felt gorgeous. The smell of the flowers was wonderful. And I just felt fabulous. And in that moment, again, I can create a positive resource by just checking into my body. How do I know I feel so good? How does my body know I feel so good? So building resources from those momentary things that feel so fabulous. And you're going to serve yourself enormously by doing that. And one of the things I would suggest for you is that you walk through your life. It's very, very easy. We all know it is. I do it and you do it, to walk through our lives thinking about the negative. Oh, this might happen, or that, oh God, all of the things that come up into our mind. And you would serve yourself enormously well by shifting. The spiritual warrior chooses her way of walking in the world. And to choose these positive resources is a baseline for you in everything else that you do. And to really get it, that your body is such a gift, that through your body, you can set yourself up to do all these other wonderful things that feel good emotionally, that intellectually are wonderful as well, but they're based in this wonderful body that Creator gave us and all this magic that was set in our body. So does that make sense? I'll ask you, Maram, does that make sense to you?
Oh yes, absolutely. In my journey, when I first started, I was really not connected to my body, and I had a lot of headspace that was very busy. And it was only when I started to shift downwards and to really pay attention to sensation was when I started to feel like I'm making some progress. Yeah.
Well, that is wonderful. That's really, really wonderful. And, somehow we've been taught to not pay attention to our body. It's like, even in spiritual teachings, often it's like, well, if you're going to be spiritual, you kind of get out of your body and leave your body and go walk about. And
Yeah.
really, that's not true. I'm here with some wonderful meditation teachers, and they're all talking about even meditation, which often I think we think of as escaping somewhere. And one wonderful teacher said to me, meditation is not leaving the world. It's being sensually, deeply connected to every bit of the world all the time. Yes. And I think that's so wonderful, because then in that kind of presence, when we bring that kind of wakefulness and presence to our life, we bring the resources and power we need to move forward. So I'm going to tell you one other thing and give you another assignment. So these positive resources are just the most useful thing that you can have in your arsenal. One of the things I do, by the way, I was telling you to think of, so I walked out this morning and I just felt great. I felt healthy, I felt strong. And one of the things I do at that moment is I say, Creator, this feeling, whatever this is, however it comes to me, this beautiful, strong, alive, capable, wonderful feeling. Creator, more of this. And I think that's a powerful way to pray, because many times we pray and say, oh, I feel so terrible. Creator, fix me. Creator, and all we're doing is energizing the negative.
Yeah.
So I think it's a wonderful way to pray, to find that positive resource, to find that beautiful feeling, and to give thanks. Because one of the things that is also a way that I would suggest for you is to be grateful ahead of time. If there's something you're looking toward, say, thank you, Creator. I'm so happy you're sending that my way. Thank you for that. I so appreciate your abundance and your richness and my life and the gifts you give me and the gifts that everyone gives me. And thank you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for that beautiful thing that's coming my way. It's right around the corner somewhere. I'm so excited about it. So to do that kind of thing allows us to call to ourselves the positive things that we want. And I have one other thing to suggest to you along this line. I was working with a wonderful, wonderful man named Raja Selvan. He was my teacher around the trauma work called sensory experiencing that I do. And he said to us one day around these kind of resources, he said, what you need to know is that love felt in the body is the most powerful resource the human ever has. Love felt in the body, experienced in the body, is the most powerful resource we have.
Yeah, that's a really that is a powerful thing.
I'd like to,
sorry?
what I'd like you to do is to close your eyes and let's find a resource that is a resource of love. So find a moment in your life. It could have been a moment when you felt love coming towards you or being given you. Maybe you were held in the arms of your mother or held in the arms of a loved one, or whatever way you felt love coming into you and felt your body filled with it. Or it could have been a time when you were giving love out of your body. You were going, I absolutely love this beautiful child. You're just so caring about someone. You're just pouring love out toward them. So however that might be, close your eyes and find a moment and feel that bodily experience of love. Find it in your body. Often it will show itself perhaps on your face, often in your chest. Again, sometimes some people feel it in their stomach. There's just this full, nourished, wonderful feeling. Wherever you feel that feeling of love in your body, track that, be aware of it, be able to find it again when you want to. And because we don't have too much time, I'm not going to give you quite so much time as I might usually. But once again, this is your assignment. Do this, find this, I would say 5 at least of these positive resources around, because they'll be your most powerful ones.
Yeah.
And always, always, always tracking them in your body.
Yeah.
So that when you have a moment, you can pull that feeling up. And I would highly recommend that you walk into your life carrying this positive resource of love. Because Creator made us from love, gave us love, the answer to all the questions that we have on earth right now, all the crises, all the upsets, all the warring, all of these things can be changed. The more of us who carry this and walk forward with this loving energy toward not only other beings, other human beings, we can just walk around and offer it to the tree, to that beautiful flower out there, to the person coming down the street, to the person driving in the car next to you, to the mountain, to the water. Love is the transformer of everything. Yeah. And so to walk into your world and go, what can I do here? I can love. I can send this love forward. And I use it sometimes even for, like, I love the polar bears and they're having such a very difficult time. It's hard for me to think about them in some ways. And I try to do everything I can, you know, and support things. But one thing in every moment I think of them that I can do is I can send love into their life. I can find love in my body and send it forward into the world and toward their lives, that they might have support and love in their lives.
Thank you so much, Brooke, for everything that you've given us today. I feel like one of the most profound things that really stuck with me in this session is the phrase, love felt in the body. I feel like that is something very powerful to carry around, especially if you're not used to connecting to the body that way. To cultivate that energy is, I feel, going to be transformative for all of us. So guys, Brooke is going to be with us today on the Facebook group, and she will be there for you guys to answer questions, to listen to your experiences. If you have anything you want to share, she's going to be there with us. Brooke, can you tell us about your free gift today?
I am offering some wonderful songs and teachings, and also discounts on several of my teachings. One of them is about Vision Quest, and it's really a 2-hour teaching about Vision Quest, and I think it has a lot of positive energy for anyone stepping out, even if they're not doing like a formal Vision Quest. It has a lot of good energy for anyone who wants to walk forward on their quest. So there's a lot there, and I invite you to follow that track and receive those and enjoy them.
Wonderful. So guys, you're going to find the link to that underneath Brooke's video. Just click the button that says get your free gift and you'll find it there. Come to the Facebook group, share your experiences. How did love feel in your body? Do the writing prompt, and I'll see you guys next time in our next session. Thanks for listening.